Like the biblical prophet of doom, herbal medicine sellers in Abuja and its metropolis are quick to preach the negatives.
Even if you have intention to go to hospital, I, Dr. Salisu Sani, say don't go.
Baba Aisha, one of the most popular, has amassed a huge customer base in Nigeria.
Medicine is working. You will enjoy it.
Not be clear, they tell you. Nobody go take the medicine, go tell you say the medicine not dey work.
They trust the medicine, but there's a lot they are not aware of.
Anyone that takes this is at a high risk of acute kidney injury, if not chronic.
People are not going to double check an item that has a NAFDAC seal on there.
How safe is Baba Aisha herbal medicine?
Layman's way of saying it is not safe to take this herb as it is presently constituted.
My name is Kemi Busari. I'm a Nigerian journalist. Each time I visit residential communities in Abuja, I notice the prevalence of herbal medicine sellers. Like many people, I pay no attention to them. But one product is hard to overlook: Sakra herbs, popularly called Baba Aisha Herbal Medicine. The producer, Baba Aisha, endears himself to the audience through his hilarious advert.
If I told you are a human being, you are not a spirit. If we give you this herbal medicine, you take it. You will call us and tell us this your medicine is working.
I've been to 33 states in Nigeria, and everywhere I go, I see herbal medicine sellers without paying any extra attention to them. But there is something very different with Baba Aisha, and that is his bold advertising techniques. Baba Aisha, with this concoction sold for 100 naira, he claims cure for typhoid, malaria, rheumatism, piles, ulcer, waist pain, and a host of other diseases. And confidently, it tells you not to go to the hospital or take your children to the hospital. That was the advert that caught my attention and even made me to launch this investigation. Now, I want to find out what's in Baba Aisha's bottle, whether it is safe for human consumption, and what is the regulatory framework that allows it to thrive in our markets.
In the past, I have covered several issues in my country, but nothing prepares me for what I'm about to find out.
If you go to Kaduna, you get Baba Aisha Herbal Medicine. If you go to Kano, you get Baba Aisha Herbal Medicine. If you go to Abuja Federal Capital, you get Baba Aisha Herbal Medicine. At any section in Abuja, you get our herbal medicine.
I started my investigation by speaking to retailers of the medicine in several parts of Abuja.
You say malaria typhoid, na dysentery and file, okay. No make. Okay. You say na rheumatism, you say na lime orange, okay. You say na toilet infection, you say na oily salt.
I spoke to over a dozen of these sellers. They all sell the same products, and like Baba Aisha himself, they are confident it cures all common diseases.
So, Baba Aisha herbal medicine everywhere. In every residential communities in Abuja, you see some cars parked at different markets, at different junctions with on speakers, and they reel out the adverts and everybody patronize them. So it's in Kubwa, it's in Lugbe, it's in Jabi, it's in Buhari. At every section of Abuja, you'll find the retailers. So a lot of the retailers I interacted with couldn't even speak the basics of English language, yet they act as pharmacists. They prescribe dosage for the medicine. So some of them tell take 3 bottles per day. that's about 360 ml. Some of them say 240 ml, that is 2 bottles. Some of them say 1 bottle per day. Some of them tells me to add salt whenever I want to take it. Some of them say I should add lime. And at some point, I found out that this retailer also add a powder into the bottle of this medicine. So they give different prescription and without any prior qualification to even do that in the first place.
Today, I am scheduled to meet Alice John, a 50-year-old trader who complained of pains in her eyes and other parts of her body sometime in 2022. Her first stop was a community clinic where she was diagnosed with glaucoma, corneal ulcer, and hypertension. She was placed on treatment, but the ailments persist, prompting an alternative.
How can the medicine work? Then my sister bought 250 naira for me.
That was when, ma?
June. I begin take it. As I'm taking it, I can't see. I know they go urinate like that again. My body might not pain me like that again. I begin to take it. I continue to buy it. To take it. Then when I can even jump now as I did.
For the first time I used another herbal which is not Baba Aisha, I didn't feel better. So later I was being advised Baba Aisha used to be better in that kind of, let me say, disease or sick. He gave me 3 bottles of it and 3 sachets of the other medicine that I used. So I make use of it 3 times. Today I took one, the next day I took the second one, the next day I took the third one. And finally, seriously, I feel better for that
I spoke to over 15 more people. They see the medicine as a savior, cheap and effective. To test the claims of effectiveness and safety, I bought 20 bottles of the medicine in 4 different locations in Abuja. The medicines were sent to an independent laboratory at the Afe Babalola University. Professor Olaposi Omotuyi recently led a team of scientists to discover Verocidin liquid, a herbal medicine approved for the treatment of COVID-19. He is the best man for the job.
We just got samples of the sacral herbs, and we also got the mice in there. We are going to be testing this as anti-malaria curative, and the way we are going to do it, basically 200 microliter or about 1,000 over -6 infected, plasmodium bag infected red blood cells supposed to be passed over about 20 grams of mice.
Our herbal medicine is many types of root we mix together. We cook and filter it. Then we put it in a bottle and sell it for our lovely Nigerians.
While the laboratory test was ongoing, I decided to probe the regulatory framework that allows the medicine to be on sale. In my research, I found that the medicine was impounded by NAFDAC in September 2017 due to its non-registration status. The registration was eventually granted in 2018, but something I noticed on the bottle of each medicine left me with more questions than answers.
So here's a bottle of Baba Aisha Herbal Medicine, and if you look closely on this bottle, you'll find out it carries 2 NAFDAC registration numbers. According to NAFDAC, for you to have your herbal products registered and approved in Nigeria, you need to fulfill some documentation. One of it is registration with the Corporate Affairs Commission. One of it is registration of the trade name with the trademark registry, and another is submission of a full laboratory report from a quality control laboratory. So I set out to find out if Baba Aisha actually fulfilled this criteria, and if it did, how come we have 2 NAFDAC registration numbers?
Through our investigation, we discovered that one of the 2 numbers is fake. The other expired in 2020 and has not been renewed since then. So Baba Aisha is selling his product to millions of Nigerians without a valid NAFDAC registration number. A quick search on the portal of the Corporate Affairs Commission shows that the company, Sacra Multilinks Limited, was not registered. To further confirm this finding, I contracted a lawyer to do due diligence on the company. The result turns out the same. I wrote the trademark registry to provide details of the company's trademark registration. The registry, in response, said the company applied for registration in 2016 but failed to complete the process. NAFDAC failed to respond to a request for details of the laboratory evaluation of the medicine. There's one more thing I need to check with NAFDAC.
So Baba Aisha, in his adverts, will tell people to use the medicine for almost all common diseases you see around, and he will also tell you not to visit the hospital. I find that problematic, and digging into the NAFDAC regulations, I realized that there is a particular regulation that guides the advertisement of herbal medicine and other products in Nigeria. Part of the sections of the regulation states that you have to send the recording of your ad to NAFDAC for approval and for vetting before you even go out to air it to the public. Also, you have to renew that advert every 2 years. Apart from that, there are a lot of other sections of the regulation. For instance, you can't claim that your herbal medicine cures everything, and you can't claim that it's even superior to other products or other medicines around. If you look at this regulation and place it side by side with Baba Aisha's advert, you realize that he completely failed in every section of this regulation.
Again, we tried to confirm from NAFDAC if the advert was approved, but the commission failed to respond to our inquiry. While these were ongoing, I received a distress call from the laboratory.
Could you believe what was just found in the lab?
Oh, what's that?
Most of the animals in the group treated with Baba Aisha concoction are dead.
Wow. Wow.
Almost all animals in that group are dead.
Wow.
As compared to the group treated with standard chloroquine and even those untreated.
Oh, and why is that? Why are they dying?
This is actually very surprising and very shocking, but we cannot give exact reasons right now. But as soon as this research is concluded, we should be able to get the reasons behind this incident.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Oh, wow. So, when I received the call about the preliminary finding from the laboratory, I just felt like gathering everyone around who takes tea about medicine and telling them about it and telling them to even stop taking it. I don't need a scientist to tell me that something that killed animals in the laboratory is extremely harmful to human body. So at this point, I stopped calling it a medicine. It is a concoction and nothing more than that.
I have another worry. If indeed this concoction is harmful to human health, how come I've not encountered anyone with a negative review? I need to go back to the streets. So I'm on my way to speak to 2 people
who from our initial conversation told me about the negative side effects they suffered when they took the concoction.
Isa Ismaila is one of the 63% population said to be multidimensionally poor in Nigeria. He also constitutes a fraction of the 97% said to be excluded from any form of health insurance. For many years, he relied on herbal medicines for his health care. In 2022, he made an attempt to switch to Baba Aisha.
To wannan lokacin da aka ce mini yana maganin basir da sanyi da typhoid. Kuma aka ce in kana da sanyin amosanin kai za ka sa masa gishiri, in ka sa gishiri sai ka ɗan jijjiga sai ka sha. To ni kwarai da gaske waccan shekaran nan da na samu na karɓa wannan maganin nan guda 3, na ɗan sa masa gishiri na jijjiga na sha, kuma ana cikin watan azumi wannan lokacin nan. Har ta sa ni na sha maganin, na sha azumi guda 6, sannan na nemi maganin bature na sha kafin na samu sauki wannan shekaran nan. Ni dai a shawari na dai in mutum yana gani yana zai iya sha wannan maganin to zai iya sha, amma ni dai a yanzu dai yanda na riga na sha wannan maganin nan na duba na ji yanda ta yi mini, gaskiya ni dai ba zan sake siya wannan maganin nan ba.
I want to know why he had such a horrible experience with the concoction. But first, I need to meet up with another source.
You told us about you taking Baba Aisha Herbal Medicine.
Yes.
When did you take it? What did you take it for? What was your experience like?
Okay, that was 2018.
Okay.
That period, I was living in Galadimawa at the time.
Okay.
And I kept having recurring malaria. You understand? I would treat malaria, and in less than 2 months again, I have to treat again.
Oh.
It was that bad. So it got to a point, some neighbors of mine, they came and were like, why am I always going to the hospital? I'm wasting money. They were like, there's this herbal drug, Baba Aisha. Have I not heard of it? I said, what is Baba Aisha? You understand? And we were just discussing. They were like, try it now. It's good. You can take it. Once you take it, you pee it out. It's very nice. Okay. I was like, all right, no problem. Because at that point, I was desperate. You understand? Always getting sick, always falling ill, always going to the hospital, always on drugs, always
He
on
took
injections.
the medicine,
I wanted it to stop.
and the situation turned out
the first
for the
one,
worse.
The first day, towards evening, I started feeling a little bit of pain along my pelvic region, my stomach. My stomach was just upset. It was paining me. It was painful. It was biting. It was just not okay that day. But I pushed on. I took the paracetamol. I was still okay, battling. The next day, I took the second bottle. I didn't get myself again. It was terrible. It was like it took a turn for the worse. It was that bad to the point I collapsed, and I was taken to the hospital. I woke up in the hospital and I was like, what happened? They told me I collapsed.
The doctor told Okai his situation was aggravated by the concoction. It could have been worse if he was not taken to the hospital. The laboratory test is now complete. I'm as eager as you to get the full details of what the scientists have found out.
So for this experiment, the mice were divided into 5 groups. There was the first group, which is the basal group. This is a group of mice that were not infected with the malaria parasites, and they were not given any form of treatment. They serve as the control group. So there's the second group, which is a group of mice that were infected with the malaria parasite, and they were not treated at all. Then we have a third group, which is a group of mice infected with the malaria parasite and treated with chloroquine. Then we have the 2 last group. Group 4 is a group of mice infected with the malaria parasite and given 100 milligram per kilogram of Baba Aisha's concoction. And then the final group also is a group of mice that were infected with the malaria parasite and given 30 milligram per kilogram of the concoction. That's a low dosage of the concoction. So let's see what the scientists find out.
Number 1, neither of the doses that we tested has curative effect on malarial infection in mice. None of them were able to clear or clear the virus and the plasmodium. They were there. And more importantly, the plasmodium infection associated loss of packed cell volume, that is, the blood levels begins to go down, was not reversed by this drug, by this herb, under both doses tested, both the high and the low. Number 3, we realized that some organ functions collapsed. And I am sure primarily this was caused by Plasmodium beggar infection, but the condition was made worse by the treatment. More specifically, I would have to talk about the liver and the kidney functions. Really got terribly bad with the administration of both doses of the drug. And finally, with chloroquine, the median time of survival, that is time that it takes about 50% of the animals to die, was established to be about 26 days. If you take 18 from it, that's about 20 days basically. But with our treatment, none of the groups rather, was able to survive past 4 or 5 days.
Professor Omotuyi and his team said what Okai and Ismaila experienced could be as a result of organ failure, aggravated by the
that
concoction.
Means that anyone that takes this is at a higher risk of acute kidney injury, if not chronic. And when it becomes chronic, the implication is that one has to be thinking about kidney transplant. And I think that does not come cheap. It costs millions. That is if you ever find a matching donor at all. Ditto liver, ditto lungs. So these are the issues. These are layman's way of saying it is not safe to take this herb as it is presently constituted.
At this point, I have 2 questions in mind. Why are some people taking the concoction and claiming it makes them better? What components of the concoction makes it appear in yellow?
I cannot say specifically because I didn't have to deal with the patient. But of course, if somebody takes a medication or a concoction and collapsed immediately, it shows that probably the person has an underlying ailment. And of course, that thing that he just took just made it extremely well. So we say an average man is about 70 kg, but for an average mice is about 25 grams. So if you look at the proportion from 25 grams to 70 kg, that's a very wide margin. So most of the times, when you have an animal that you use and the animal is dying within 4 days, it's like probably at least it can take up to like a year or 2, even beyond, before it's a human of about 70 kg, which of course many of us are above 70 kg. So that means it will take longer time before they begin to see any kind of damage. I would say that no child should be given this, because now if you look at the children, they have smaller body weight, just like we'll talk about the mice. Yes, they are not 25 grams, but they have smaller body weight. So if an adult is taking it and they are not yet falling or collapsing, if a child should take it, definitely is going to.
So NAFDAC has what they call the good manufacturing practice, and this is a guideline that helps herbal medicine producers in terms of sanitation, in terms of demarcation in their factories, and it even spells out the kind of personnel that should exist in your factory and how they should work. So having received the preliminary finding from the laboratory, I really wanted to know whether the setting of this factory actually affects the production and whether it is partly responsible for what we found in the laboratory.
I have to come back to the laboratory in a week's time to get my second question answered. "50 kilometers from Abuja city center, everyone knows Baba Aisha in Tafa. Malam Hamza, who introduced himself as Baba Aisha's brother, has agreed to meet me. Malam Hamza explained how they only produce in bulk and on request. But when I requested to take a tour of where the concoction is being produced, he declined immediately.
So I've been in Tafa for a while now. I spoke with Hamza and he decided not to take me to where the concoction is being produced. I placed several calls to Baba Aisha himself. He also declined the request to have a look at the location of where the medicine is being produced. So now I want to find the place by myself.
Instead of a factory, I found that the concoction is produced in a residential building. Herbal medicines are expected to be produced under certain standards prescribed by NAFDAC. But what I found here already falls short of specifications.
Eventually, I was able to find the location where this concoction is being produced. But I didn't attempt to enter the house for fear of being attacked. Baba Aisha himself has told me on the phone that he wasn't around and I can't enter the house. His brother has also told me that. So at that point, I just had to turn back. My quest to know where this herbal medicine or say concoction is being produced stopped at that point.
People that are suffering from back pain, if not their backbone break, we don't have the one for backbone break, but if it's back pain, if you take this our traditional medicine, you will not feel any back pain again.
Herbal medicine practice in Nigeria is mostly unregulated and often requires no registration or scrutiny. For several years, individuals who parade themselves as doctors rip off the public with misleading advertisements without consequences. At different times, the authorities have made attempts to regulate the sector, but the proceeds of these attempts have not yet materialized. One of such latest moves is that by Senator Ibrahim Oloriegbe, who believes all herbal medicine practitioners should have a minimum qualification, which should not exclude their ability to read and write. In 2022, the lawmakers' bill seeking to establish the Federal College of Complementary and Alternative Medicine was assented to by the President and now awaits implementation. 2 years earlier, the federal government approved the bill for the establishment of the Council for Traditional, Alternative, and Complementary Medicine Practice in the country. The lawmaker believes these laws, if implemented, would curb excesses in the sector. This objective will remain far-fetched without a common front by the herbal medicine practitioners. One association, National Association of Nigerian Traditional Medicine Practitioners, is looking to formalizing the workings of herbal medicine practitioners in Nigeria.
Because we are trying to meet up the WHO standard. And without flushing quads, we cannot be able to achieve this aim. Based on that, the main aspect of what we are doing is creating awareness, organizing seminars, workshops, bringing these people together. You are now, hawking a herbal medicine. We want to know what is the content of what we are now selling out to the public. We start, arresting them, then, educating them.
Back to the laboratory. Professor Omotuyi now has an explanation for the yellowish nature of the concoction.
Our quest to further understand why sacral herbs was toxic to almost all the organs that we investigated from the animals. We decided to probe into the content of the sacral herbs, especially the colorant, by performing a spectrophotometric analysis of the sample. We realized that the pigment absorbed maximally at around 425 nanometer, and that is characteristic of what is called atrazine yellow. It's supposed to be a food dye, and the amount of this dye that is going to be added to food is highly regulated. According to the Joint Expert Committee on Food Additive Standard, only 7.5 milligram per kilogram is recommended daily for human consumption. On analysis of sacral herbs, we accurately determined that 1 liter of every sacral herb has about 5,000 milligrams of atrazine yellow. And in every 250 ml bottle, that will come down to about 1,250 milligrams. And when we calculate it, everyone that has taken sacral herbs has taken about 3 times for every bottle of sacral herb, 3 times the recommended dose. That simply means that whoever is taking this is exposing himself to dangerous levels of atrazine yellow, and that might be responsible for all the organ destruction that we found in the animals that we investigated.
At this point, I became really scared for people who take the concoction. So for this investigation, I kept 2 bottles of Baba Aisha concoction in my house, and each time I look at them, I have this feeling that I'm keeping poison with me.
The Nigeria Association of Nephrology said about 20 million people live with kidney diseases in Nigeria. The World Health Organization estimates the same figure for liver-related diseases.
And that's why now we're seeing patients coming down with kidney failure, liver failure, heart failure, and then some even loss of. So we had advertisements or radios, drugs that will mislead patients. Some patients will be coming to you with taking their drugs for almost 10 to 15 years. Before you know it, they will stop taking those drugs because they have been given other medications that are harmful to them. They're increasing our burden of disease. They're increasing our patients that are coming to hospital. And most of these people, when they come, it is too little, too late.
People that are suffering from back pain, if not their backbone break, we don't have the one for backbone break, but if it's back pain, if you take this our traditional medicine, you will not feel any back pain again.
We presented our findings to NAFDAC, but the Commission did not respond to our questions. Baba Aisha answered calls, but insisted he won't grant an interview. We sent copies of the laboratory reports to NAFDAC, the Ministry of Health, the Consumer Protection Agency, the Standards Organization of Nigeria, and a few civil society actors to inspire enforcement action.
I would advise that they immediately stop taking it and they go for proper medical check.
Yanda na riga na sha wannan maganin nan na duba na ji yanda ta yi mani gaskiya ni dai ba zan sake siya wannan maganin nan.
I am not so sure what has been put together that makes Sacra herbs, but I think the producer should also come open. Let us know what components are there, what are the ones that are toxic. If we remove them and we have safety, at least first, not necessarily with me, he must work with scientists to help him establish safety first.
It took me 5 months to investigate what's in Baba Aisha's bottle. As I wind up, I think about the many herbal products on sale in Nigeria and how harmful some of them could be. My hope, and that of the general public, is that regulatory agencies live up to their responsibility to keep Nigerians safe. Before I sign out, I need to do one more thing.
We try to do a laboratory test on Baba Aisha Herbal Medicine to know what the content. But just a summary of what we found. Number one is the fact that the medicine is a safety hazard. I'll fund the kidney and liver test for you. Whatever you find there, you will know what needs to do. So just a laboratory test for maybe kidney and liver. I don't know.
I cannot push myself for what I know experience. That medicine, if I take a matter of knowing, God has already washed it away. I will not take it again. It's long that I'm taking it. So since where I got myself where I did not take it again.
Nigerians, if I told you are a human being, you are not a spirit. If we give you this herbal medicine, you take it. You will call us and tell us this your medicine is working. You will enjoy it. You will never say I died.